Warning: the following is extremely addictive content. The original Savage podcast may cause increased levels of success, happiness, and completely transform your life. You've been warned. Welcome, everybody, to the original Savage podcast. Today, we have an absolute banger of an episode. I am so excited. As soon as I thought about this podcast and relaunching and rebranding, I knew I had to get this man on because he is the epitome of what we talk about: the transformation, the change, taking things to the peak performance. So without further ado, Reggie, why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself, tell everybody about you, and then we'll just dive into it because I know you have so much to tell us.
I'm just a little worker bee. I live in Los Angeles, Reggie Grant. We got a little rain here, liquid sunshine, we call that in Oregon. I grew up in Seattle, went to college, University of Oregon, played a little bit for the Jets in Canada and all that stuff. So I'm a business strategist now. I work with the National Alliance of African American Athletes. We mentor scholar athletes. We've been doing that 32 years, and time flies. I work with retired NFL players Congress. They're a licensee of the NFL, and they in partnership with JS Design, the largest manufacturer of licensed jackets outside China. Tomorrow we'll be in Las Vegas for the Business of Sports Conference, and then I'm speaking at 3 or 4 other events. So this is all rocking and rolling, cooking with grease, ReginaldGrant.com. Glad to be on with you, Josh.
Absolutely. I know that this is, I know you're a busy man, and so I can't thank you enough for being on. But, the reason I wanted to have you on is just because of that exact thing, right? Helping athletes transition into the business world out of, that post-football life. We hear so many people like they struggle because they've had this one sole purpose for so long, and then all of a sudden that's gone and they need to find something new. And so it's super important what you're doing. But also I just want that perspective. And so I ask every one of my guests, and so I'll just start off with this is, in your opinion and in your experiences in athletics, in business, in life, in your opinion, what is it that takes somebody from where they're at to really achieve that peak performance? What is that catalyst of change to really see lasting change and really hit that peak performance level?
Well, identifying what your drive is, what your focus is. Focus. So, as an athlete, it's pretty easy. You're regimented. You're in an organized scenario. But nobody has to tell you to get up and go and work out. If you're going to be successful, you're getting up and doing it on your own accord. So all the skills you learn as an athlete, determination, perseverance, working with other people, all those apply to the rest of your life. It's a matter of taking that energy, effort, and focus it on something different. So being focused is we do business strategy and coach and work with a lot of CEOs and founders of early stage companies and startups. And the biggest problem they have is not staying focused, right? You pick one thing, you have success at that, then you can add on. You can't do 10 things all at once, and especially in the beginning. When you're building something, you have to be focus driven. What is your mission? What is your mantra? What drives you? Once you identify that, why you want to have success. There's a reason that is 0.01% that plays professional athletics, right? They know how to take and transition that focus into one thing, and that's whatever their sport is. And then everybody, and I mean everybody, stops at some time. Everybody's not Tom Brady and plays for 20 years. Most guys, for example, in NFL play 1.5 years. You need 3 years to make pension. So most guys don't even make pension. But they have the ability, the opportunity to take those skills that they've learned and nurtured and been nurtured by coaches and teachers and parents to focus that on things outside of athletics.
So it's almost like you're talking to me because I always have 20 things going on in my mind. You're just calling me out.
Yeah, but it's one thing to get started, right? When you're first starting out, though, you really have to be mission driven and focused. You have some success at that one thing, and then you can layer on and add on other things because success in business is about processes and procedures. What do you do? How do you do it? How does it flow? Once you got a flow and it's automated, say, well, you're posting all that stuff. No, I'm not just posting all day long. That's automated. We'll create something and post it on 12, 15 different profiles and on 5 or 6 or 7 different platforms all simultaneously and repeat that. It's not just sitting there and just doing a repetitive task, right? It's about creating processes and procedures that can help you succeed.
Absolutely. And one of the things too, going back to kind of what you were talking about before, that focus, I've seen it also labeled clarity, right? It's that clarity, understanding who you are, what you're good at, and like you said, what your drive is. All of that has to align.
Right. Embracing your journey, embracing your journey. Your personal journey is different than everybody else on the planet. What drives you? Find that, find your passion, and find a way to get economically compensated, monetize, right? That passion that you have. That makes it so much easier. It's not hard to get up when it's something that you
Oh,
like.
absolutely, absolutely. And what you're saying there, that personal journey, that goes along with something I used to talk about all the time on my older podcasts and shows was that organic journey. You let it happen. You don't plan to play 1.5 years in the NFL or whatever sport it is. That's not your plan, but it might take you down a path that's completely better for you long term because you avoided some sort of injury potentially, or you know,
Or
or CTE,
concussions.
right? Yeah, CTE.
Right, right. I got a lot of buddies that have major issues that played a lot longer than I did, and they're struggling
Yeah,
now.
I'm a big believer in that organic journey and that organic path of just allowing life to come. And when you get to a crossroads, you make the decision that's right for you at the time, and you live, and you live and you do it, no regrets. And then you just keep moving and building, snowball, 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 until you get to this thing where it's like you look back and you're like, wow, where'd that come from?
Exactly. You have to embrace your journey, your personal journey, whatever life gives you. Take the lemons and make some lemonade, and rock and roll and do your thing. Right. You have to be focused and embrace your personal journey. Right? The challenges, the times that you laugh. This week, Sunday, I had an opportunity to go and visit my mom, my aunt, my sister, my niece, and some great nieces and nephews. And it was just a wonderful time just to be, spend that hour together. Now, we have a little rain in Southern California, and everybody's discombobulated. And, I grew up in Seattle and earned my way out of poverty playing football, beating people up in the rain. So, a little rain doesn't stop the
Hey,
train.
I grew up in North Carolina. We used to play football in my front yard, and the defenders were the pine trees. Had to avoid the pine
You just
trees.
have to
Yeah,
have
you had to
fun.
avoid the trees.
Have fun, right? Live life exceptional. Do everything you do to the best of your ability, and the rest of it will filter
I
itself
wanna I
out.
wanna get something you keep saying. It's you, it's your journey, your journey. And one of the things that I've said, especially in this training, coaching, performance type aspect, is that I believe that modern training is becoming more and more robotic. You got robotic teachers teaching robotic courses, if you want to call them that. And now you have AI on top of it, obviously. But one of the things I say, the reason that they're lacking is they neglect individuality and perspective. And you keep saying your journey,
Right.
your journey. So I want to hear
It's
your
all
opinion
about
about
you.
that individuality and how allowing that individuality to shine helps performance in, again, all aspects.
Right. I'm a nonconformist, so I was a teacher for 17 years. I've written a dozen books. Um, and principals were always ready to get rid of my behind after 2 years because my job was to help empower and elevate those children that were in my classroom. It wasn't about um, the economics of the deal, right? The administrators were worried about economics. I was worried about empowering my students, elevating the people around me, which elevates you, right? So you have to be empowered to do the best that you can. Do everything you can to the best of your ability and embrace your journey and be focused on what it is that makes you tick. Don't worry about other people. Other people love me or hate me, but they must respect my work ethic. Right? Other than that, F
Hey, I'm with you. And again, I mean, it just comes down to if you try to copy, they say, flattery or imitation is the greatest form of flattery. That's great for the person that you're copying,
right.
but you're never going to be them. So you're never going to achieve what they're achieving. If you're trying to be somebody else or trying to, get to this level that they're at by copying them, it's never going to work.
Exactly. You have to put your own spin on it. You have to be an individual, embrace who you are, embrace your personal journey, and just, be around people that elevate yourself. That's a big thing too, is who you hang out with. I hang out with people that have a lot more than I do to try to elevate myself. Even when I was teaching the 12 to 17, 18-year-olds, I learn things from every day. Be open to learn, be open to grow. You might go and in a room and meet some people, and there might be one grain of sand that somebody says to you that you can take away and apply. You can't take the whole beach, but you can take that one grain of sand. It's just like somebody starts a company, and it's like they're trying to start it from reinvent the wheel. Just what is the big dog doing? What are the successful people doing? You can't do everything they do, but you can take part of that and embed it into who you are and what you're doing, and that's how you have happiness and success, in my humble
I
opinion.
talk about those plateaus all the time, and I agree with you. It's where you stop learning. If you're at a if you're at a
Right,
plateau in your performance, in your business, in your life, whatever, if you're at a plateau, it's because you've stopped reaching for more. You've stopped trying to
right,
learn. Now, because we're on a plateau, we're gonna have to do the climb down to climb back up, right? That pop, that momentum, that bounce, right? We're gonna have to do the work because we stopped learning. Typically, once you're on the up, if you don't stop, you can keep going up. But once you stop and you get to that plateau, you've got to tear things back down, come down a little bit, and then go. Then you can climb and go back up.
right. It's all about continuing to grow as an individual. Be open to learn, open for opinions. People have, you see people that surround themselves with yes people. You can't do that. You must surround yourself with people that will give you true feedback. Truth matters. Truth will elevate you. I have a buddy that's semi-retired now. He's retired, but sometimes she'll say, "Reggie, that is a brilliant idea," and then sometimes she'll say, "What the f are you thinking?" A little perspective, but you got to surround yourself with people that tell you the truth and speak the truth, and that'll help you be elevated. That'll help you stay humble, or help you stay focused, and you just always have to be hungry for new information and knowledge. Knowledge, as the old adage, knowledge is power. There is nothing more important and more critical on this planet than intellectual property. Thoughts are the most valuable commodity on the planet. You have to control what you put in. It's like there was an accident, and it was people hurt and fatally wounded and all that stuff. And people were saying, "Did you see the video? Did you see the video? I looked at it 8 times. Why would I put that negative thoughts and energy in my brain 8 times? No, I'm not. I might have seen it once, but I'm not going to go back and repeat and feed myself that negative stuff. 98% of the stuff that comes at you is negative. So you need to be blocking that stuff out and surrounding yourself with energy, effort, people, thoughts that elevate you and give you empowerment.
So I'll make one caveat to what you said. In my opinion, applied knowledge is power. You can't just learn; you
There
have
you
to
go.
apply it.
Right. And it's okay to share it.
Absolutely. I've had people tell me
Right.
I share too many things for free. I've had people say, "Oh,
Right.
you just give too much away for free." I just don't understand why you're always telling people what you're thinking and this that and the other. And I'm like, because I like helping people. What do you mean? Like, I don't understand.
Exactly. You're elevating somebody
Right?
with it.
I don't understand. Like, it wouldn't be me. It wouldn't be who I am to just be like, "Oh, I'm so smart. I'm just going to sit over here in this corner and talk about how smart I am." What is that?
Knowledge has no value unless it's shared.
Absolutely, absolutely, and like you said, surrounding yourself with the right people. I think is important. And if we
Right. You have to be in the room having conversations with people. That's the
and if we
power.
go back to who you talked about earlier, you said something about Tom Brady earlier. If we look at where we're at now, recording this going into the Super Bowl, this probably won't come out until after the Super Bowl. But going into the Super Bowl, you got Travis Kelce who said, you know, I looked at Tyreek Hill going to Miami and he was getting paid 3 times more than I am, but they keep losing. I don't like losing. He said, he said, I'll take less money because I don't like to lose, right? Because surrounding yourself,
Right.
you it's not about individual achievements. It's about bringing everybody with you.
Nobody's an island. You cannot have true success without other people going along on the boat with you.
I that is exactly right. If you think about the like back to the Viking days, right? They had to oar their way everywhere. They had to row everywhere. You get off the them boats by yourself. You just going in circles.
Right. So by yourself, you
Yeah,
would
you're going in
drown.
circles. That's about it. That's about the only thing you can do. But I think that everything is just everything these days, in my opinion, is the fake it till you make it culture, the ingenuine stuff. And I want to talk about not just the individuality that we talked about earlier and owning that you're an individual, but also like being genuine and being your true self outwardly to everybody and showing that. Like, have how have you seen that in the business world and the transition? I think too, like the transition from one to the other. Like, how have you seen that play out where you've got this person that wants to fake it till they make it versus that person that's like, hey, I don't know everything, but I'm here to learn. I'm here, that genuine self.
Right. Well, you have to, again, surround yourself with people that add value to you. Add value, right? Knowledge, information, how they did something that you can apply some of that to yourself. And it's about understanding that the journey is not linear. It's a process, up and down and peaks and valleys, and you had embrace the process of success and being happy. And you treat everybody like they're somebody. And most of the time I hang out, and well, we did several events last year, right? We had one event that had 1,800 family offices. Those are rich people whose money get managed by somebody else, right? And 1,800 people in the room, and they were all, for the most part, people that didn't have pretense, and they weren't acting like they need bling bling and all that stuff, right? They're not entertainers. Most of them people didn't drive a Bentley, but they could afford to pay for one
Right.
cash. Right? So, I used to, when I was in real estate business, I owned a little tax service, and I used to rent an office around the corner from my office because they had a beautiful uh, conference room. And I take my important clients over there, want to impress them, and I take them over there. And unbeknownst to me, the people in that room were all multimillionaires, right? They all drove sedans. They didn't dress all fancy dancy. You had that Jim, who only bought corner real estate lots. You had Roy McPherson, that was a creative genius. You had Bob Osterari, that did land banking, to buy parcels and break it up. You had Dr. Marion Parrish, who did trust deeds, and she used to have $50,000 interest income on her notes, right? And you had Roy Smith that did hard money lending, but they were all super wealthy, but there was no pretense. There was no, like you said, fake it till you make it. No, they were just genuine people that dressed like regular people, but they were all deep seven-figure people, right? And they were great people, and it was just an honor and a privilege to have the opportunity to work with them. And just understanding it's not about the flash and dash. I have somebody that lives in a house next to where I live, and they drive a Range Rover, but they're renting a little room in somebody's house. What the heck? All right, perspective. So they look good when they go to the nightclub, but then they come home and they're in one little box place. Where they could take that $100,000 they pay for the Range Rover and put it on a down payment on their own house. But anyway, so you just have to keep things in perspective and surround yourself with people that elevate you and add value to you. Be genuine, try to be ethical. do the best that you can be with what you have, and the rest of it will clear it out
I'm
too.
over here trying to figure out which story I'm going to tell because in there, I literally
Yeah,
so
have them
many,
all.
so many things hit. Like, I just had somebody like my post on Instagram or my story on Instagram or something. And I looked at their Instagram and they've got pictures in front of a Range Rover, a Ferrari, like all these different cars. Like probably, I think they have like 6 different cars on their thing. And they're all, the expensive. I was like, oh, you're fake. You have no idea what you're talking about. Because like nobody actually has that many cars, unless you're, Floyd Mayweather or somebody like that literally makes $100 million a year,
Right,
and that's your brand. Your brand is flashy. That's what attracts people to you. He
right.
has to do that.
You're the
Right? He's an
entertainer.
entertainer. He has to do those things. Those types of people have to do those things for the image of or the dream, because they sell dreams, right? The people that sell dreams do that,
Exactly.
not the real people. But then, I've also got where when I worked in Best Buy at like 16, 17 years old, I was like in home theater, right? And this guy walks in like a pair of like cotton basketball shorts in a t-shirt. His t-shirt was tucked into his cotton basketball shorts. And then he had loafers on, right? And everybody's like, oh, he ain't got no money. He's just here to waste your time. I was like, that dude is stacked. I said, I bet you that dude's stacked, because he had Cole Haans on, and he had Cole Haan loafers on. And I was like, the one thing, he doesn't care what he looks like, but he's going to make sure his feet are comfortable. And that's why he's wearing them loafers, because he's making sure his feet are comfortable, because he wants to be comfortable at all times. And I mean, dude came in there and he spent all kinds of crazy money because that's how it was. Because like you said, it's not, to them, it's about just being efficient. It's not about flash. They've already made it. They don't need you to think that they've made it, because they've already made it. It's not about flash. Same thing. My father-in-law was a general contractor, and one of the guys that he would work on a lot of his business buildings for his businesses, and he had I don't know how many, but he rented warehouses in Ohio to Coca-Cola, the major brands, right? Like the best tenants in the world. Like, yeah, they're definitely paying their bills,
Right.
He rented these huge warehouses to them, and he lived in South Carolina, and he had a plane. He'd fly back and forth when he needed to. But I'll never forget the first time I met the man. He was in a Hyundai. He said, "Man, they got a great warranty."
I still drive my little
Yeah.
Corolla. My wife has got a real car, but I drive, 40 miles to the gallon, baby.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those things that it just, to me, it's one of those things that I just will never understand why people think that there's this mold that has to be set. I mean, the premise of the Savage brand and the premise of the logo and all of that stuff, and I've told this before, is because somebody told me I couldn't wear a hat with a suit. And I'm like, why not? I can wear a hat whenever the hell I want. And you talk about family offices and money management, and I'm licensed for money management. I've trained financial advisors. That's where I started training, was training financial advisors. I have sat on a Zoom call with a family worth north of $10 million. Like, I know for a fact because I saw their money, in a t-shirt and a hat. And he was in a t-shirt and a hat.
Right,
and we had a conversation just like anybody else. It's not, hey, I'm smart. Let me show you how smart I am and what I'm going to do with your money because I'm super smart. It's not what it is.
But people buy people. It's all about relationships. It's all about being true to
and
who
bringing
you
value.
are, adding value to people, adding value.
Yeah. And that's the thing, is what value are you bringing when you're posted on Instagram that you've got, or in front of 9 different cars? What value is that? Like,
as you said earlier, selling the dream.
I mean, to me, it's just, I know you're renting those cars, or you're taking pictures in front of other people's cars. So if you're renting those cars, the amount of money you're spending on that car to rent it for the day, like the amount of ads that you could run, or the amount of real work you put in, like, it blows my mind. And I know that, like, it depends on where you live too. Like, I live in South Carolina. Nobody cares here in South Carolina for sure. I mean, Southern California is a different culture. Miami obviously is a different culture. So I get that, like, where you live, some of that impacts it. But if you're selling online, if you're selling yourself online or a course online or anything like that, the majority of the U.S. is not New York City, Miami, or LA. Those are
Exactly.
very small areas when you look at the overall grand scheme of things.
You know, most people inherently are in the middle and want to take care of them and their family, and not about all the flash and dash. It's about not the sizzle, but the steak itself. Does it taste good?
I heard that one.
Right?
That was good.
Do you have substance? Substance.
So you're telling me
You
you're
can
not going to
tell the
Salt Bay's
sizzle. It's
restaurant
the
for
steak
some of this
that
for $1,200 steak?
matters.
Man, no, that
That's
is that
funny.
is. I've never heard that. It's not about the sizzle; it's about the steak itself. I absolutely love
Right.
that. Absolutely love that.
It's substance matters, right? Substance truly does matter. Are you a do you add value to people? Do you elevate people? That's the substance, not flashy, dashy stuff.
Elevating people.
That's
I think
entertainment. That's
that's
entertainment.
one of the things. Like as far as like peak performance and peak performers, that gets lost is the ability to elevate others, right? And
To add value,
like you talked about Tom Brady, right? Tom Brady made
right?
everybody around him better, right? You called him out earlier. That's why he played
Exactly.
forever because he made everybody else better.
Right. He made everybody else better, which elevated his game, and he added value to the people's lives, and that's why he won what 6 or 7 Super Bowls. Who does that?
Absolutely. And the same thing is now the same thing on Instagram, Facebook, whatever social media it might be. One of the things that I see people getting wrong these days is just the flash, like you say, but they're all going after, oh, I have this many subscribers, oh, I have this many viewers, I have this many whatever it might be. But having a loyal fan base or a loyal following, I think is way more important because they believe that you give them value and they're loyal. But think about it from a small business's perspective. If you owned a small business in your town, a brick and mortar business, if you had 1,000 customers that every time you breathed and said, "Hey, I got a new product," and they immediately came into your store and bought it out, that would be the most successful small business that you've ever seen. And that's what happens.
Right. People get it misconstrued,
And that's what happens with these small creators.
right? It's all about you only need a tiny little piece to be highly successful, right? You don't have to have the whole market. If I sell 1,000 books, and I make, 100 grand, I'm a happy camper. I don't need to be the best seller. That's significant. That can change your life. That adds value to you. You just want to find your little lane, have success in your lane, and that elevates you. And if you expand beyond that's beautiful. It's like people are always raising capital. 96% of the people never raise capital because they don't understand the culture, the dynamics of the process of raising capital. So you have to educate yourself. And as you say, apply the knowledge and education, be open to learn, and then that's how
But
you.
that's where it comes to surrounding yourself with the right people as well. I mean, it's all together. It
Yes.
all works together. Obviously, one thing is not more important than the other. But that's the thing is you have to have that person there, like you said, that calls your bullshit, right? But also somebody that's there to push you and is like, hey, listen, you're not where you need to be. You're doing okay.
Right.
Yes, you're doing okay. And if you're happy with doing okay, cool. But if you did ABCD, you'd be the 2 levels up, 3 levels up, whatever it might be.
Exactly. Well, I have a client right now that's doing about $2 million of business. He should be doing 4 to 10, right? Because he's not getting to that next client that he needs to get to. Average, is a construction business. So we're working with him to help him create better processes and procedures to delegate some of the lower end responsibilities and to put himself with people that can afford to two, three, four, five, 10 times bigger checks. So it's about understanding where you're at and being willing to
I,
grow.
I that's my conversation every time I go back to my in law's house because my brother in law is taking over the construction business, and every time I'm telling him stop working in the jobs, You got to stop. I know that you did when you were the worker. You're not the worker no more. You're the boss. Stop hammering the nails. Go talk to the
Right,
rich people.
exactly.
Go talk to the business owners. Go network. Go do.
Go to the golf
Hey,
course.
no, he can't go to golf. He's
Right?
blind. He
91,
would never hit a golf ball.
91%. That's okay. They have a restaurant. You post up and have conversations. I used to spend every day at the course. I mess around and had kids and stuff. I had to get a job and do all that stuff and raise family and But I'm back at the golf course now. But I should spend every day, literally 6 days a week, 7 days a week at the course. 91% of the people own a house. 20% of everybody that's there owns a business. I play Monday through Friday. So the CEOs, the founders, the executives, that's playing during the week. I don't want to play in the weekend with the job guys. I want to play during the week when I'm hobnobbing with people that I can do business with. Sit there, have breakfast, a cup of coffee. You never know who you're going to meet.
Absolutely. That is no truer things ever been said. Obviously, coming from a golf guy, a guy that played a lot of golf and now lives in the golf capital of the world. Uh, you know, that is
I got to get my butt
yeah,
down
Myrtle
there.
Beach.
I got 5
It,
months left. My daughter be out of high school. My middle daughter's at UCLA. My oldest one works for Edward Jones, financial manager in office for them. But yeah, I'm working on getting my life back and play some more golf and be around people I can do some business with. People say, when are you gonna retire? Retire when I'm dead. Come on, man. You got to keep your brain and your body active.
and you're exactly right with that one. I think that's why a lot of coaches, when they get out of coaching, I mean, it seems like they die the next year or so, because once their brain is just not firing the same way, it
Right. You're not doing anything. I got a buddy that's 87. He walks. We don't walk, but he walks 18 holes 5 days a week. Right? But that's why he's 87 and his brain is clicking on all cylinders and his body's still, moving along. Man,
Oh,
it's amazing.
when I played for the junior college I played for, our coach was 78, and yes, he played from the senior tees. Obviously, 78, so he gets to play from senior tees. And I mean, he would spank our butts up and down the court. I mean, he would just murder. I mean, because he hit everything dead straight and made every putt. He had been playing that same
Right.
course for 30
Keep it in the
years.
middle. Keep it in the middle. Game of recovery and
Yeah,
close it out.
he was.
Drive for show, putt for dough.
He would blow us out every time. But I mean, that's what it is. And again, it's about putting those types of people around you. It's not about just having
Right.
one type of friend group or one type of, you have to have that extra something around you from either a younger perspective or an older perspective. And I talk about that all.
You need it
Perspective,
all. You
perspective,
need to be
perspective.
around people that are new ideas and fresh and open perspective. You need to be around people that have done it successfully, right? You want to be a millionaire, you hang out with people that have millions. About to leave the office. I'm gonna go and visit one of the richest families in Southern California, right? And have a conversation with them. And the matriarch there is a patriarch or whatever you call it, the man is probably 85, but he's still in the office every day, comes in, does his little thing, still does a lot of work, keeps his brain clicking. We'll have a cigar once in a while. He'll give me one, I'll give him one. So you have to surround yourself with different kinds of people from all walks of life, and you never know who's going to add value to you.
Absolutely. It's about those little nuggets that you pick up. Like you said, grain of sand. Uh, and
Yep.
it's that little bit that you pick up here and there. That is what, in my opinion, does take that performance to a different level. Because I commented on somebody's post the other day about they were saying, the traditional path is kind of not necessarily dead, because of course corporations are still going to look for the exact same model of employee that they want. But at the highest level, the executive teams, the guys that are consulting, the people that are really bringing the value to the business and changing the business, not the guys that get stuck in middle management, but that level, the traditional path of, I went to this business school and I did this and I did this and I did this, and all you've ever done is one thing. All you've ever done is one thing. The only thing you've ever done is study business or marketing or whatever it is since forever. And you've only ever had marketing jobs, or you've only ever had manager jobs, or whatever it might be. All you've ever done is this one path. Everybody now is starting to realize that those guys that have run a business, been in sales, been in marketing, the guys that have worked construction, done welding, done this, done that, whatever, right? And bounced around and had all these experiences and done all these things. People are starting to realize that that different path has so much more value than the person that's only been
Exactly.
on one lane.
Exactly. They have a perspective of the world. Just like somebody that's never left their little hometown. You don't have a clear perspective on how other people live around the country, around the world. And the world's a big and diverse place. And it makes a difference of who you surround yourself with. And having those people that have multiple experiences brings a different perspective. It just adds value to your organizations. You want to create a culture of success, and a culture of success just allows everybody to be who they are and value who they are and your differences, and that adds to the sum of success.
And it's the same thing too now in athletics, because of course I like to relate the two. Um, now people are starting to realize you can't just try to make your kid specialize in one sport from 5 years old, right? They get burned out. It's not right. The
Yeah,
the athletes that
yeah.
make it play 2, 3, 4 different sports. Patrick Mahomes, I think.
Right. You get different kinds of muscle memory, different kinds of skill development, and you can apply that to one sport once you've created that muscle understanding, the mental understanding of how you do different things, and it all adds to the value once you get to that specialization. But when you're growing up, yes, most definitely you need that diversity of experiences, of activities, of sports, all and different people. And that all adds value because we all approach things a little different. There's more than one way to skin a cat. And if it's only your way, you're in
Oh,
trouble.
absolutely. I was saying, I think that I heard earlier this week, or it might have been during the Pro Bowl Skills Challenge or something, but they were talking about how I think up until high school, football was Patrick Mahomes' third sport. Love him or hate him, obviously he's performing well, but his third sport was football.
Right.
It was his least
And
favorite.
that- right, of course. And as far as least successful, and then he had that breakout that, it elevated him because he did all those other things. It made him more diverse. It made him more adaptable. And adaptability is one of the cornerstones of success in business. You have to find the problem, come up with the solution, and adapt and adjust and keep moving.
Problem solving, problem solving, problem solving. It is.
That's that soft skill that everybody needs, no matter what industry you're in.
It's.
That the industry, corporations are looking for that because they're lacking that.
I went the last time I was home. My mom had like cleaned out my old like childhood closet or whatever, and there was some books laying there that she had found that I don't know what kind of a weird kid I was, but I had like logic puzzle books. I was doing logic puzzles. Talk about a weirdo. I don't know what I was doing, but I was trying to solve problems. Apparently, I don't know. I mean, obviously, it worked out, and it's a great thing now. But yeah, I saw some books, and they were like logic puzzles, and I was like, man, what the heck was I doing over here? And but it's one of those things that I think is super important because even just last night, my son had he doesn't normally have homework. His school is not a big homework school.
How
I
old's
have a
your son?
9-year old and a 3-year old. The 9-year old
Okay.
is he's the good kid usually. The, the 3-year old's the terrorist. Um, it's
So he's your
Yes,
clone.
and that's why I can't get mad at him. I can't get mad at the 3-year old that much, and I can't like correct him because he's super independent. He wants to do everything for himself and super curious about everything, but he wants to do things his way, and so I can't correct him because I know down later on in life it's going to serve him extremely well. And that's the hardest part is like trying to be
Right.
like, don't go make yourself a sandwich. You're 3. What are you doing? What?
I can do this. Let me do this. Get out of my
Like,
way.
you do not need a knife in your hand. You're 3. What are you doing? It's like, I got this. And but the 9-year-old, he's like, uh, a lot of things come easy to him. And I was as far as like academics, I was kind of the same way. Like I didn't have to try a lot. So I get where he's at. So but I have to shape things differently with him and start to teach him problem solving.
No, they're all
Yeah,
different.
well, I've got to teach him problem solving because when things come different or come easy, the second that something's not super easy, you're like, oh well, I just won't do that, or I just won't, put in the effort because who cares if it's
Yep.
not easy? Then it must not matter, right? And like last night, he had an origami thing. I don't know how origami and math go together. It was a math homework, and it was folding an origami frog. I don't know how those two things go together,
Right.
but it's okay. And I don't love tedious tasks, so I understand that he got frustrated because it's weird. But
It's
I
just
showed it.
natural.
I showed him how to do it. I helped him do it, and then I said, "Now go do it on your own." And when he had a meltdown because it was hard, I just left him and said, "Not helping.
Right.
I've shown you twice. Figure it out because problem solving is it."
You want to create self-sufficient kids. Self-sufficient problem-solving people. That's what you want to create. Self-sufficient kids. That's what I wanted to help with my daughters, to make them self-reliant where they could solve all their own stuff. And that's the proudest part about being a parent, is adding value. And that's why I love kids, and I was a good teacher because you just see them grow. And it's so rewarding to see them accomplish little things, right? It's
Well,
just amazing.
that's like the people talk about the secret of the Ivy Leagues and like okay, corporations they hire their executive teams and things like that from the Ivy Leagues because the Ivy Leagues teach differently. They do case studies. They say,
Yes.
"Hey, here's a case
Yes.
study. What did you learn? How would you do it differently?" These things they learn problem solving. They learn logical thinking. They learn identifying different situations. Whereas the generic university of such and such town, it's regurgitation, just like it is in high school. They're not
Exactly.
teaching, they're training you to be a
Critical thinking skills. Critical thinking skills are there is there is nothing more valuable.
right. And that's the thing is it's once the more you look into the education system and things like that, obviously, I mean, there's don't go down the rabbit hole too far because you'll get into some weird stuff. But it's that whole training the employee mentality of go to school, do what you're told, go to school 8 to 5 or 8 to 4 or whatever it might be. It's different in different states and stuff, but go to school for basically when you're going to be an employee, do what you're told, don't break the rules, this, that, and the other. They're training them to be employees. But then the other level, when you get into that other level, they're teaching you how to train the employees. They're teaching you how to solve the big problems and do the things differently. And I think once you
Exactly.
unlock
To
that,
see the problem before other people do. See the problem and you figure out a solution.
but then you have this disconnect. That's the issue I see in business most these days that holds performance back is that disconnect because a lot of those people don't know how to connect to the regular people.
Soft people skills again comes back to being able to communicate with people and effectively understanding your audience and who you're talking to. And there's one thing to have a conversation watching a football game. It's another thing to have a conversation in the corporate ballroom, and you have to be able to code switch and adapt to the scenario. That's the skill that many of the young people are missing, and even older people.
But and that's probably and obviously, I have made it clear that I think that in athletics it does train you for the business world. And obviously you do too, considering that's kind of your cornerstone. But I think that being in the locker room setting and playing in different settings and that adaptability, but also the personalities that go along with it, I think that that's why that athletic background.
You get to work with a wide variety of people from a wide variety of backgrounds, from different cities, from different states. And I remember getting college. Everybody was a high school All American. Everybody was somebody, all state, all this, all that, right? But then you have to elevate your game. And the same thing professionally. Everybody was somebody where they were at. Now everybody can run fast and jump high. Can you mentally focus and stay on track to have that next level of success? It's about staying in the moment, embracing your journey, and being adaptable.
Well, I think that yeah, it's about being able to shake off the things when you get uncomfortable or whatever. And it's like one of the I don't remember if it was the first year, or the second year I was playing, but we were playing in a tournament, and I got paired with a kid from Iceland and a kid from Sweden. So the country bumpkin was without a doubt out of place. Um, they were talking about polar bears and all kinds of crazy stuff, and then they started talking some language I ain't never heard of. You want to talk about weird and uncomfortable? That was it right there.
But you adapted, you adjusted, you learned, and you grew,
That's right. I
right?
told him I'd buy a polar bear. Yeah, it got me in, you know. I said, "Oh, y'all got
That's
polar bears
amazing.
like as pets?" I was like, "I'll take one. Ship it to me. I got this. They can live here. We'll make them survive. We'll like freeze it or something."
There you
But
go.
yeah, I
That's
mean, I
funny.
think that coming back around full circle, like if you were going to talk about if you were going to give somebody one piece of advice that's either starting a new career, starting a business, starting just a new venture, what would be that piece of advice that you would say, "Hey, listen, here's how you get the most out of you, not the most out of somebody else, most out of you."
Don't be afraid to fail. Don't be afraid to fail. Don't be afraid to fail. For failure is part of your journey to success. You look at Michael Jordan, he used to take 1,000 shots some days. That means he missed 600 and 700, 800 of those 1,000 that he took so that he was prepared when in the moment because he was muscle memory, it was mental memory, it was adapting to the scenario. And that's really the biggest thing. Stay focused and don't be afraid to fail. Failure is part of your steps to success. And you have to, if you're failing, that means you're trying.
Ooh.
Sometimes you have to adapt and adjust and maybe not do the same things, but you're trying. You got to do it, right? I have some people that perfection is the killer of many businesses, right? We get these inventors we deal with, or creative people, and they're geniuses, but they want things perfect. Well, when Bill Gates, I was in the software business 96, 97, 98. So I worked for a company that called Nisus at that time that made a word processor that was a competitor for Microsoft Word. It was only for the Apple. When Gates released Word the first time, they had 18,000 bugs he knew about. So we'll fix that boo boo as we go along. The rest is history. You have to do. You can fix things, you can adapt, you can adjust, you can create processes and procedures, but you have to do things. You have to go ahead and launch. And not launching is means you know not going to win, right? If you're launching and it doesn't work, you can adjust and adapt it. And again, surround yourself with people. You can have the best product in the world. You get the wrong people, you die. You get a bad product and you have great people on your team, you'll figure out the product that you need and you'll win. So it all comes down to people and staying focused and surrounding yourself with people that elevate
It's
you.
that alignment of everything. Everything's got to align and make sure that it's in alignment to get the best performance, right? Like you said, if you've got great people, the product you can figure it out. You can align the product with the people.
Right.
You can
You
make
will
the
figure it
product
out.
work for the people and have the people in alignment.
Exactly.
And you're exactly right. I was literally watching a video last night, popped up on my YouTube, and they were talking about content creators and people that want to become content creators and whatnot. And they said it was like Mr. Beast, and obviously he's like everything to YouTube these days. And he's saying,
Right.
I don't care who you are. Stop thinking for 3 months about what video you're going to put out first and why you think it's going to be this is going to be the perfect thing because I don't care who you are. Your first 10 videos are going to get 0 views. Stop trying to be perfect. No one's going to see it. Nobody.
Right. Right. You can adapt and adjust if you're doing. You can't adapt and adjust if you're not doing. Perfection is the bane of success. You have to go ahead and uh, work for excellence and strive for perfection. But for perfection never happens. You strive for it, and you settle for excellence, and that's how you win.
But then one of the other things that I think is so key and critical, and I literally just posted the quote from Albert Einstein that true genius is taking something complicated and making it look simple. And it's the same. And then I posted a follow up to that about being able, like when they talk to athletes and things and they say, "Hey, how did you hit that game winning shot? What was going through your head?" And they're like, "Nothing." Over complicating something when it's time to perform will always doom you to fail. It is about reacting,
Yes,
muscle memory, just being your, and I think that's another reason why it's so important to be yourself and be genuine.
being in the
I think
moment.
that's another reason why it's so important to be genuine, because if you're trying to fake who you are, if you're trying to fake this thing, when the pressure is put on you, you're going to revert to your real self. You're not going to be able to be that fake person under pressure. And then the cracks are going to start
Right.
to show.
The real you, like you said, the real you is going to emerge and float to the top.
Yeah, and again, it's all of these things, all of these things. It's, like you said, it's the practice, it's the mental focus, which I think gets overlooked, and even with me, sometimes I think that focus kind of, I don't talk about it enough when I'm working with people, and making sure that they are on that focus and understand the amount of focus that it takes, um, and really work on the little things so that under pressure, when it's time to perform, when it's time to sell, when it's time to release that product, when it's time to, have that leadership conference, or when it's time to get on that stage, or whatever it might be, you don't have to think anymore. The focus phase is
Right.
over.
Details matter and repetition matter. That's why you practice so that when you go in the game, it's second nature. It's automatic. Muscle memory, mental memory.
Whew. Well, I think we've gotten a ton of stuff out of you today, and I know that we'll probably have to have a follow up at some point, because there's way more that we didn't even touch.
Of course.
But
Always available for you, Josh. My pleasure. Glad that you had the thought about me, and I appreciate being on and appreciate all your listeners. If there's any value I can add, reach out. Let's have a conversation.
absolutely, shout out your social medias and your websites and all of that good stuff.
But this Reginald Grant, man. There's 30,000 Reginald Grants. I own that boo boo, so my shiny bald head's gonna show up. Reginald Grant, reginaldgrant.com. Google me. I can't hide.
Can't hide. That's right. And again, I also, one thing I do want to talk about real quick before we go. I want to thank you for what you do with kids and teaching kids early on financial principles and those types of things. I know that you've done some financial principle classes for kids, and some other things, and you work with the youth, and that to me is super important, not just with the business owners, but also within the community. And so I just wanted to say, that's awesome.
Well, somebody added value to my journey along the way. It is up to me to add value to somebody coming behind, right? So that's it. You just want to add
Hey,
value.
that's what I had a guy tell me one time. He said, if this planet is the same when I leave, when I die, then I failed at life. He said, I've got to do something to change what's going on some level. If I don't make an impact, then that's the failure.
Add value. That's all. Not complicated. Life is real simple. Just add value.
Perfect.
Appreciate you,
Yes,
Josh.
sir.
Thank you so
Yes,
much
sir.
for having
Thank you
me
so
on.
much. Guys, stay tuned next week. We're going to keep this thing rolling. Another big guest, another one I'm super excited about. Can't wait. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. I look forward to another one next week. Guys, let's go.